Hi friends, it's Liz here. Today I have a super fun project tutorial to share with all of you. This is my design project for Victoria Designs, and it is using the Autumn Harvest Junk Journal Project Pack. I will be showing you how to make this mini album / journal from start to finish. We'll make the cover, and then we will make the hinges to add the pages. As you can see here, I've just done some decorating on the cover, and I've left it fairly easy to decorate because I want you to be able to finish it very similar to what I have done. You'll see here I've added a belly band, and I've got some of the gorgeous ephemera pieces from the kits. I've got another little pocket on the side of the inside cover. And then the first page, love the designs, it flips out for additional storage or journaling. So the idea behind this album / journal is that you can add your photos, you can use it to scrapbook, or you can actually use it as a journal as well. I've got some of the pages here that do have the full designs on them, but most of the pages I left them so that you could add a photo or you can journal on them. So I selected the pages that had a lot more space for that to happen. So this second page has a nice large pocket, and I've added an extra piece. Again, all the digitals are from the kit, and I've added this extra piece for additional journaling space. Of course, you can add, your photos in there or add photos to the actual little journaling spot that I have left there. The ephemera pieces I left so that they can be added throughout as needed. So as you can see here, there's just so much space to journal or add your photos. These are some of the elements as well that I wanted to leave so that they can be added, whenever I start to journal or add my photos to it. I've added a large tag that I can again journal or add some photos, and that's for the large pocket on this page here that we just flipped. So the next page, again, similar design. I've left this one to flip out to the left. I've added another ephemera piece, and you can just see how much you can add to this album journal. So this is one of the elements that is removable in the project, and it's like an ephemera holder as well. So this could be, if I'm going somewhere and I wanted to take some pieces with me that I can use, I can just take this little piece and add as I want to it ephemera pieces, or it can become almost storage in my actual journal that I can keep additional pieces that I want to add throughout. This is the second element that is also removable, and I've added some flip out pockets with additional journaling space. And I also show how to make these removable pieces as well. And I love them. They're like little folios that come right out. And they're just so fun and easy to make. This side flips out as well, and it's got an additional ephemera piece in there just to show you that that is a pocket. And that's just the back of it as well. I just added a page in there just so that you can see that because of the way I have done the center to add the removable pieces, it's easy to add additional pages if you wanted to in the center of this album journal. Another flip out pocket, and again, lots of spaces to add more ephemera or journaling or photos. I love this little design here with the page there. So the next page again flips out, more tuck spots, more ephemera pieces from the kits, and this one here flips out for more journaling or space to add photos. Another one of those large tags that I made again for the same purposes. And then the next page, I've added additional ephemera, and you can again use that throughout. I designed this album / journal so that it can lay flat. I personally really like to work in my albums, journals, that I can fully flatten out when I'm working on them, so there's not a lot of things that get in the way. And as you can see, each page is completely flat if I wanted to work on it. But of course, they're all fully attached to my journal cover. Here's just more additional journaling space, and the back has another pocket with some additional ephemera. So I made that large tag with one of the ephemera pieces and then just added a few more there. All right, so I'm going to show you how to make this from start to finish. I'll show you how to add the pages and the sizes of everything. As always, questions, comments, you can leave them below. And I'll have everything linked as well in the description box below for measurements, etc. if required. All right, let's get started. So as you can see, I've just printed out some of the journaling pages. I like to use at least a 28-pound paper weight for the pages. And then I also will be using some cardstock that's about 65 pounds in weight for some additional ephemera pieces. So you can see here I've printed a few out. I've also decided to just print the pages that completely go borderless printing. I have expanded those to 110% in order to not print out the borders. And then these ephemera pieces, I've printed them out on the 65-pound cardstock, and it's also white. So I just want to let you know what I'm using for those pages and ephemera. So the first thing you're going to need is some sort of chipboard, heavy cardstock, or cereal boxes. I like to use those as well. But for the purposes of this cover, I am using like a medium weight chipboard. It's actually a little bit thin. I would say it's about 110 pounds maybe, but I'm not quite sure of the weight of it. I will be cutting my first piece into 11 inches by 8 inches. And then we're scoring at 5 1/4 and at 6 7/8. And that second measurement is just before the 7-inch mark. So the notch before the 7-inch mark. The next page is also 8 inches, but this one is cut at the 6 7/8. And I'm scoring that again at the 5 1/4 inches. Okay, so let's put together our cover. You'll notice, of course, that you have one shorter piece. You can use whatever glue you'd like to use to adhere your covers. I like to use this wet tacky glue because I find it gives me a little wiggle room if I make a mistake with gluing it on. And also it does not warp my paper, so I prefer to use that. Now I was showing you that there's a shorter piece to the larger cover. That one is going to become a pocket. As you can see here, this one would become a pocket. But for now, we're going to be attaching our covers together. And the way we do that is we take our hinge from our large cover and we will be adding some glue because we will be attaching this part to our shorter piece, which is also our shorter hinge piece. And you'll see what I mean in a moment. So here's what I'm talking about. If you were using double-sided tape for this, it might not, glue properly on. It might be a little bit sideways or warped, and you won't have time to fix it. So I like to use my wet glue so I can have a little bit of time to move things around if I need to. And you can see that I've just attached my back hinge to the center there of my large cover hinge. If you need to pause the video to see that again and rewind it, it's just a matter of adhering the two pieces that we've scored together basically. And I'm just making sure that the glue is adhered properly. And now you can see how it's attached together. And of course now we have a cover that is equal in size from front and back. And then we've got that little piece in the middle there that is now our pocket. So now you decide where you want your pocket to be. If you leave it this way, your pocket will be facing the back cover. If you turn it over, of course, the other way, then now you will have a pocket on the front inside cover. So I think for me, I'm going to do the pocket on the front because I think it's always nice to have a pocket in the front, and then we can figure out the back. So now this becomes my front cover. This will be my inside pocket, and this is the back. So when I flip it over, I have to keep that in mind when I'm covering it. So to start off, I think I want to use this sheet from the kit. Just trying to decide. I want the cover to be a little bit neutral so then I can add more things to it. So to add, you know, anything of the covers, what I like to do is sort of measure just by eyeballing where I want my edges to be. And then I'll mark it so that I have an idea where I want to cut it. Okay, and then you'll cut 2 pieces for your cover. And so I've decided to use these 2. And you can see that they just fit nicely within the edges of the cover. I like to leave just like a hair of an outline so that it's not necessarily poking over on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these, and then we'll do the other side. I've added glue to the inside of what I'm adding, so of my paper. And then I'm just trying to make sure that it's everywhere, covering the space that I want it to cover. And then you see when it's folded, it's got a really nice finish already. So of course we'll be decorating this later, but right now I'll just add the other parts to that. So for your inside covers, of course, you can use any of the printables. I decided that I wanted to use something that was a little bit of a contrast to the front. Of course, it also goes together because it's part of the kit. And what I did is I took one of the pages that prints out landscape format, and I decided to, you will need 2 if you want it to sort of coordinate. And I decided to print it at 110%. And this way, it doesn't leave any borders on either side, so I can use as much of the page as I want to. And I don't have to cut off the edges. So for example, the pages print out with the border. If I were to leave them as they were, with the white border as you see, but I went to 110% to print them borderless so that I could have the full sheet to use. Of course, they do include the full sheets that you can print, and these are like the portrait sizing. So these are some of the ones that already print out with the full page, but because I wanted to use this one, I decided to print it at 110%. So I hope that makes sense. So I've printed 2 so that I can you know, add the same to the whole thing. So again, I'll do the same thing. I'll measure, you know, where I want to cut, and then I'll make one for each spot, plus keeping in mind that you'll need something for underneath your pocket when you glue this pocket down. So I'll show you how what I've cut, the pieces that I'm cutting, but then also the piece that you'll need to cut there. So we'll start maybe with this side just so you get an idea. So because this is going to show when I glue this down, I want to have a spot that sort of is just a little bit bigger than where I'm going to cover. Okay, so here I'm just, as you can see again, I'm just adding my sheet to the inside. I'm going a little bit past where my my pocket begins, and then I'm just going to make a little mark there, so I know when I cut that, that's the part that's going to go inside. So I'll show you in a moment here. So here's the part that I just cut, and so you see now it fits nicely inside what's going to be my pocket. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut it off to 8 because our entire height of our album journal is 8 inches. So I'll go ahead and cut the pieces as I mentioned. Same thing goes for this side. So we've got the leftover piece of the pocket. I'll be adding my digital, and I like to do that upside down so that I can kind of see better, you know, where I want to make my marks. So that's where the next one is going to be, and then I'll do the rest. So with the one sheet that was the 8.5 by 8 that we cut up, of course we have a few strips left over. Save those because you can use them as washi tape on your pages or as decorations, borders, etc. But what I did want to show you is from that one 8.5 by 11 sheet, I've got 3 pieces that I was able to cut we are left with the spine that is still exposed, so there's nothing covering it. You can leave it like this, or you can take your extra sheet, as I mentioned, and then sort of do the same thing of covering up that spot, measuring as we've been doing, and then making the whole thing even. And that's what I'll be doing. So that's why I printed out the extra sheet. Of course, I'm going to use, you know, maybe just a portion from the center, because I don't know if I want to replicate what's there. So maybe I'll just use a section from here that almost doesn't have anything there. Okay, so I'm just gluing the little piece that goes inside the pocket a little bit, just so that it looks nice and finished. You can see that there. And now when I glue my pocket down, then it will look like it's a nice finished cover on the inside. So now I'll just be adding glue to the top and bottom, because then this now becomes my pocket. And I'm just making sure that I've got glue at the top and bottom. And then once I put this down and let it dry, then it's going to leave my nice pocket on the left side there. And now I'm just going to finish covering that piece up. The next step is going to be adding something to the spine, because I do want to cover that up a little bit for now. So we'll do that next. For the spine, I'm going to use a piece of the printable, and I'm just, again, I just made sure to measure that it would fit, and I'll just add that, and then we've got our cover finished. So at this point, I think it's nice to start adding, you know, something to the cover. So for the inside cover, I wanted to add one of the pockets that's in the kit. I think it's just a perfect fit right there. So now we've got a pocket in the front, and then we've got a pocket in the back. And this one is part of the kit. And folded it at the fold lines. And of course, I had pre-cut all these so that it would just be nice to add them to the pieces. And some of my ephemera pieces, I've made sure to print them on a white 65-pound cardstock, because I like the thickness, and just you know, it gives it a little bit more support. Okay, so we've got pocket. Okay, so the next steps. We have 4 pieces that we will be adding to the center. So I'll just put them in order so that you know what I have. Okay, so you've got 4 pieces. And you've got, the first one is 2 1/4. And all your pieces that we're going to cut 4 of, so you've got 2 1/4, 2 inches, 1 3/4 inches, and then 1 1/2 inches. And that's basically 2 1/4, 2 inches, 1 3/4, and 1 1/2. And they are all 8 inches, because that's the height of our album journal. So the largest piece, you're going to score at 1/2 inch, and you just turn it if you want to and score it at 1/2 inch. Okay, that's the easiest way to do them all. But you can also just go with 1/2 inch and then 1 3/4 inches for this one. But I find easier if you just flip it. So the first one is 2 1/4 by 8. Score it there, and then flip it and score it there. Okay, the next piece is 2 inches, 1/2 inch score, flip it over, 1/2 inch score. Okay, third piece, 1 3/4. Okay, score, 1/2 inch score, And then the last piece is 1.5, score, and then score. So that's the basic pieces we're going to need now. So back to our album. We'll take our largest piece and we are going to fold our lines. So we'll make it nice and crisp. Okay. Nice and crisp. And it's the first one that we add to our cover. So now if I fold it down, you can see that I have just a little space in between. If you want to, you can measure your 1/2 inch mark. So you could mark, you know, where the 1/2 inch is, but I find it easier to just eyeball this and just sort of make sure that I have even on either side. Okay, so we will go ahead and glue this one down first. So this is the 2 1/4 one. So you'll see again that I'm using my wet glue because I want to make sure I can move this around a little bit if I need to adjust it. And it gives me a little time to, you know, be able to put it in the right spot. So I'm just putting it down now. I'm folding the flaps in, and then I'm just making sure that I have equal spacing between both sides of this spine. I'm going to take my tool and make sure that I make a nice crisp line, and I'm just double checking that I've got the top properly adhered and the bottom. So there's our first hinge. Now I'll be moving on to the next one, and I'll do the exact same thing. So I'll be folding these over to make sure that they have a nice crisp score. And then I'll be adding my glue. And then this one will just be attached to the one we just adhered to our cover. And what I love about this system is that it gives your pages some room to add embellishments, to add, you know, photos, to add bulkier kind of pieces of decoration, because the pages are not going to be side by side exactly. They'll have a bit of space between them. And you'll see once we've adhered all 4 hinges to the cover that they have nice space between them. And there's just so much potential to, you know, to make this a very sturdy album journal. And it will definitely last with how we're adding all the pieces down. The other thing I wanted to say is I really like this as well because it gives your spine a nice and very sturdy spine, because you've added basically 4 additional layers of cardstock. In my case, I'm using chipboard to the spine. And so if I wanted to add, let's say, something heavy to the spine, like a dangle or, you know, something that requires a little bit more support, my spine would be able to hold that because it is very sturdy after I've added all these different layers to it. And I'm doing the same thing again. So here I'm just folding my hinges over just to see that it's nice and straight top and bottom, and I have just a little space between both sides of my hinge that you know, just kind of look really nice and also are nicely spaced between all of them. So the last one I find is the toughest one. I wanted to add an additional one because otherwise you would have a very kind of wide spine in the center, but you could just leave it like this and maybe add something to the center here in the spine if you wanted to embellish it in a different way. But I'm just adding the last piece here again. And like I said, this one is the smallest one, so it will basically fold onto itself when we start folding the hinges over. But once it's attached, you'll see how nice it turns out. The next step is going to be selecting our pages, and then I'm going to show you different ways that I'm attaching them, and then also the different ways you can make them interactive. I will be using my pages printed on my 28-pound paper, my photocopy paper. But of course, if you wanted to print your pages on you know, thicker scrapbook paper or cardstock, then that also would make it even sturdier. I think it would even be better maybe for adding a lot of photos if you were going to do that, because then it would make the pages a lot heavier and able to support the weight of, you know, so many added pieces to it. Okay. So we will be adding some of our pages to our album journal. And what I've done is just gone ahead and cut up my pages and folded them in half. And then this is the part where you can add additional pieces if you want to, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. But for now, we'll just have a few pages ready. I've gone ahead and made 6, but we are going to need 8 altogether. So go ahead and select your pages, and I'm just going to show you how we will be adding them, and then how we will add some flips and you know, fold out pages, interactive pages, etc. Okay, so I have picked my front page and my back page, and I will be starting with the front page when I attach it. And this is the way that we will do it. We will add glue to the back of the first hinge. And as you can see, I'm trying to make sure that my page is lined up with the cover. And then when I fold it over, I'm trying to make sure that it lines up with my hinge as far as I can take it on that hinge. And then I'm adhering it, basically this part of the page, to it. And then for the back, I'm going to add glue to the back of the hinge. And basically, this is the way your page will be folding out. So if you see here, I'm just adding glue to the back of the back hinge, and I'll be attaching the back page to the back of that hinge. I'm just making sure that it lines up and that it all fits nicely. Top and bottom is lined up, and that it's adhered properly. So we've got to flip out this way, the way we've attached this page. And then, of course, I'm taking an extra piece of my digital that I have here, and I just have some extra pieces, of course, from cutting up to make the cover, etc. And so what I'll do here is I'll add a cover / pocket to cover up that exposed part of my hinge. So you can see here, I'm just adding glue to the top, bottom, and back of this piece. And this is just to add a pocket here. Now you can, you know, leave it as is. You don't have to add this pocket. This is just basically a strip of, I think it's about 2.5 by 8, the size of this strip. And again, it's just a piece that was left over from cutting up the digital. And so I thought I would use it to make that little pocket. And also it covers up that front part of my hinge. So now I have a flip out journaling page and a place to tuck photos or additional ephemera pieces if I wanted to. So that's our first one there. And again, I'm just making sure that it's even and that it's nice and flat. So now I'm going to go to the back and do a very similar thing here, is making sure that I cover up my exposed spine there. And again, another piece of that same piece of digital. And this time again, adding glue to 3 sides. And as you see from the back page, it flips out to the right as well. And so it's just giving me a lot more space in the back for a tuck spot, for journaling, to hold ephemera, etc. And so again, I'm just making sure that it lines up top and bottom. And again, this piece is probably about the same. Maybe this one's 2.5 by 8 inches. And 8 inches is the height of our album. So that's why I don't necessarily give you measurements for that, because it's the same throughout. So that's what our pages are as well. So here we've got our first 2 pages attached. Let's continue. Okay, so for our next pages, we are going to cut them in half. You can see here, I've just taken 2 pages and cut them in half. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to make my pocket pages that are coming out on the side. So again, I'll be adding glue to my hinge and gluing it on the back side here. So you can see this is the, I guess the front of the hinge. So if you fold it over, you see that it's your front of your hinge, and then one of the pages I'll be attaching to that part. And again, just double check that your page is facing the right way. And if you have double-sided paper, I don't know if that would be useful for this process because you're essentially covering it up with the page that will be going on top of it to make the pocket. So this is where the single-sided digital paper is perfect because you're not basically wasting one side of your paper by covering it up. So now I'll be adding glue to the top, bottom, and back of my page, and I'm adding glue to the actual page itself because I want to make sure that it is even when I attach it to my front page that we've already glued on, and you can see what I mean here. So I've left the side here in the center open, and I've just added glue to top, bottom, and the right side, and then I'm just making sure that it lines up to the page that I've already attached to that hinge, because when that glues down, it will make a nice large pocket on this page, and we'll be doing the same to the back. So I'll just let you watch the process. I hope you are enjoying the video. Please remember to leave me a thumbs up and say hello in the comments to let me know you've stopped by. I hope that you check out my playlist. I have many other tutorials, craft with me videos, and just many ideas from beginner, intermediate, and advanced. I hope that you have fun making your journal/album. And don't forget to click that notification bell to know when I have another video coming up. And now we have 2 side pockets where we can add additional pieces that we want to tuck in, photos, notes, etc. Okay, so next we are going to be making the large top loading pockets. And same process, pick your pages, and this one again is adding glue to your hinge. And then for these pages, you'll be adding glue to 2 sides to make the top loading pocket. So you'll be adding glue to the bottom and the right side of your page. And here I'm just lining up the first page to it, so I guess the front of my pocket, making sure that it adheres and it lines up nicely with my hinge. And then I'll be gluing again the right side on your screen here, and then the bottom to make the large pocket. And this is the pocket that fits the really nice large tag and or photo sleeve that you can hold lots of photos in there as well. And that is our first top loading pocket. And then I'll be doing the same to the next one as well. And I did want to mention that I'm sort of mirroring what I've done on the left side as well as on the right side of the album. This is just to make it easy to show you how to add the pages to the album. However, you could add anything you wanted to the hinges. You could add envelopes. You could add, finished projects already that have maybe a thicker page that you could attach to it. And so all that would be nice to add to it, but I'm just showing you sort of mirroring on either side to make it easy to see what I'm doing. And so our last two pages, again, I'm going to be doing the flip outs, but this time I want them to flip out in opposite directions because I want to be able to open them up so that there's a large writing surface on the left and the right. So you can see here. So again, I'll just add glue and show you how I'm adding these ones to it as well. So this is definitely one of the longest videos that I have ever done on my channel. Let me know what you think, and if you like the longer versions or if you enjoy it when I split them up. I know I have a mini paperback journal that I showed you how to make a while back, and I've split that into like 3 different sections so that it would make it easier hopefully to watch. But let me know if this works for you and if it's easier for you to watch, you know, a longer video. Here I just wanted to make note that I'm adding the pocket again on the inside of each page, just like we did at the beginning of the video. And now the last step, I'm going to cover the whatever is left over of the exposed hinge. You don't have to do that, but I just thought I would finish it off, you know, just so that it looks nice and finished. And again, I did the same type of measuring, just, you know, added my piece of paper, marked it where I wanted to cut it, and then went ahead and cut that little spine piece. I have to admit this one was a little bit trickier because it was hard to put that in my paper trimmer, but it worked out. And so the next thing, I just thought I would add, you know, maybe a belly band to one of the sections, and then you just embellish and decorate as you want. Once I have the base of my journal album, then it's just so fun to add more things. I will be showing you how I decorated the cover, just for those of you that are interested in seeing. Of course, that's something you could also make your own, but I did want to show you how I decorate it just using some of the items that were included in the kit, and of course a few pieces that I already had on hand. Okay, so let me show you the cover. So I want to keep my cover fairly flat with my embellishments for decorating it, because when I open my, you know, my album, my journal, my scrapbook, whatever you want to call it, it lies nice and flat, and I like that because I can journal if I want to, and all the pages just kind of are nice and flat. So I don't want to add bulk to my cover. Of course, you certainly can decorate as much as you would want to. This is the part where you would sort of gather your bits and pieces that you have. I happen to have some fall themed, you know, paper bits and, you know, just different little things that I could add. I did have some additional goodies, but I want to also use some of the embellishments that are included in the kit, of course. And so, you know, after cutting up different pieces and trying different ways, I think what I want to do is use this one that looks like a nice scroll to put on the cover. And then I thought I would just gather a few of my additional pieces here. And so as you can see, I'm trying to keep it right on to the cover, but not onto my spine, of course. And so I think I just want that sort of peeking through. And then it's okay if it sort of sticks out here a little bit, because of course, you know, it's not really impeding anything. But I think I want to see these little bits there. And I think I like sort of that design. And then of course, this is from the ephemera kit, and I thought I would add that there, but I'm not sure yet because it's not popping up so much. So I might add something to that beforehand. But as you can see, the elements that I'm adding are fairly flat, so it can keep my album flat when I am using it. So I'm just going to be gluing everything down, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So I was initially playing with the idea of not fully gluing down this piece because I thought I would maybe use the center almost as a belly band and then add a closure through that. So I'm leaving that open. But these leaves that I have here, they are I'm not sure. It's like a plastic, like a vinyl feel. I did purchase these to add, you know, some color to the journal. And I'm also, I think, going to start kind of adding them throughout as I use the journal. But I think, you know, just having a little bit of color on the front. I could add a photo if I want to in the center there. I could add one of the labels maybe for the autumn you know, season, but I kind of like to leave my options open at this point. And again, it's still nice and flat so that when I open my journal album, you know, fully and I'm working in it, it will be easy to work on the pages because they're nice and flat. So at this point, I just went ahead and added an additional little piece to the back of the autumn label there. And that's just to kind of pop it up a little bit from the background. I might go ahead later and, you know, add maybe like faux stitching to it. I also like that it's just a different color on the background from the rest of the cover. So it does make it pop a little bit, but it's also, of course, it goes with the entire theme and color because it's inside as well. So that's it. I think, my friends, this will be it for now. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. As always, you can leave questions, comments in the description box below. Check out the digital with VectoriaDesigns to see the full digital in their shop. And thank you so much for joining me. Check out my other tutorials that I have shown you using VectoriaDesigns digitals. I really enjoy working with them. So I hope to see you next time. Thanks so much for stopping by.